If you are a parent who is currently caring for a loved one with cancer or with any other illness, and you find your life messy in chaos, and it's hard for you to juggle things, the kids, the house, going to treatments, caring for your loved one, today I'm bringing to the Parenting with Understanding podcast my good friend Marilyn Yelder. She is the author of Believing Beyond the Diagnosis book, which is a book of hope, of help, and a clear roadmap to help cancer caregivers and other sick people, caregivers, find peace, grace among the messy. If you are new to our podcast, welcome to another episode of the Parenting with Understanding podcast. This is your host, Marcela Collier, and let's talk to Marilyn about believing beyond the diagnosis. Hi, Marilyn.
Hi, Marcela. Thank you for the invitation. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much for being here. Could you please let the audience know who you are, a little bit more about your story, who you are, and what took you to think about writing Believing Beyond the Diagnosis?
Sure. So I'm Marilyn. She goes in Marilyn. That's a Spanish name. And I have like different hats that I wear. I'm a wife. My husband and I will be celebrating 31 years this September. We have 4 adult sons. We're empty nesters, which is like a wonderful phase of our life. And I work as a pediatric nurse practitioner full-time in clinic as well. And I'm a sibling. I have an older brother, 2 younger sisters. My mom lives here, Selma. And, we were celebrating our 25th wedding anniversary in 2018. We had tons of friends and family there. Marcela and her husband joined us at our celebration. That was in September. And in December, our lives changed, and it changed quickly. Very unexpected. If any of you guys ever get an opportunity to meet my husband, know my husband, he is the healthiest person you ever knew. He was teaching studio cycling. He takes yoga. I'm the junk food eater. He's the healthy food eater. At home, and he had a slump under his arm, and his first provider just said it was nothing. And before the end of the year, my insurance was going to change, and I said, "And you should go check this out again." And long story short, December 18th, 2018, we were in my office and we were having lunch, and his provider called and said, "Hey, I have your biopsy report." And we walked into his office and he said, "You have invasive ductal carcinoma." And it's a fancy way of saying that you have male breast cancer.
Mm-hmm.
And that walk from that provider's office back to my office was like what floor just fell from under me.
Mm-hmm.
And we just, in a whirlwind, jumped in and started this process of chemotherapy and understanding breast cancer. And I was navigating this world by myself and trying to hold it together. And how the book really came about was that years later, there was no me. I was looking for me. I was looking for a caregiver. I was looking for someone that was going through what I was going through, still working full time, still having what she calls messy the middle. Like life kept going on. 2020 happened, COVID happened, and there wasn't a need. There wasn't a support group. And so this story was always in me, and it finally just came out, and I just share my story and the phases I went through. And my hope and my prayer is that somebody will read this and understand that, oh my gosh, I'm not alone. It's not always about that loved one. There's also a caregiver on the other side. And we're a forgotten population. Not that's a bad thing or a good thing, but the focus then becomes on that ill person. And like for your parenting audience there, I want you to know too, as a provider, that I know that there's parents that have children with long-term disabilities and chronic illnesses, and you guys have therapists and specialists and people that you both see. And sometimes we forget about you. We forget that you're the caregiver, but then you're also a mom to everyone else, and then you're a spouse to someone else, and you're also an employee. So I'm hoping this book will take you through some phases of life that you probably are experiencing or have experienced, and you'll be able to learn from it and come out a little bit stronger on the other side. While still continues to get messy in the middle.
Let's talk about the grieving process. And thank you for sharing that. That will encourage a lot of people who think like, but how come is it so hard? How come it's so hard? And I want to go into the grieving process.
Yes.
Because in the book, you talked about different stages of grieving and not necessarily thinking about your loved one, passing, but more about grieving your old life, grieving how your normal was once and how your new normal is now. How was the grieving process for you? Because I know it wasn't linear from the things that you talk about in the book.
So I think one of the things that's really important for people to understand that the grieving process doesn't have a timeline. And there's no beginning and end to it. It's just phases of life that you go through. And so Kubler-Ross, she was a psychiatrist that she wrote about the grieving process. And so she talked about grief and anger and bargaining and acceptance and denial. And so, there's different phases that you will go through, and it really just depends on where you are as just a person in general. And so, the first phase that I went through was grief. Because we have celebrated our 3rd anniversary, and our gift to each other is that we were going to take a big trip and like small little trips, like little small weekend trips every month until our 26th anniversary came up. And so in January, we had this really big out of the country trip that we were going to do, and life stopped and life changed. And so and for me as a type A, I'm a planner. I like having things like a certain way, things are going to happen at a certain timeline, and that changed. And so the one grief I did not experience is I did not grieve my husband passing because I had a belief that this was just something we were going to go through.
Okay.
I grieved what we had planned for that year. I grieved what I thought our life would look like, because now I did not know what that was going to look like. So you grieve this phase of your life and your dreams. Like you have these dreams and your dreams just kind of, they die. They don't become a nightmare. That was not anything that happened to me, but it was like a pause. And so that was the first part that I went through. I grieved through that. I still have grief moments 5.5 years later, because there's things in life that have been interrupted, or news that we get that change, because you're just on this, like, you hold your breath a little bit and you wait for the good news to come, and it doesn't come, it's not expected, so you grieve that.
Or it's worse news.
Correct.
And you're like, but why?
Right, because you're like, I did all these things. I followed the rules. Like, we did the treatments, the radiation, and the chemo, and that's not supposed to be the outcome. That's not what asked the other outcome. So you grieve that. And then it's easy to go from that to anger, because then you're angry about, like, this wasn't supposed to happen. And so you're angry at, and then you have to figure out where you're angry at.
Talking about figuring out what you're angry at, did you ever feel anger against Brian? And let me pause there, because I have a story of a mom. She was, I was working with her, and then her anger was my husband, who is now ill, is not the partner that he once were to help me raise the kids. And that anger came with a lot of guilt, because it came with, logically, she knew that he was ill and he could not help her raise the kids the same way. So that was the guilt part in her. But at the same time, the anger was still there. But so what? I'm alone? Am I alone? Not just watching the kids and taking care of the kids, but taking care of you? It was kind of like a little resentment tucked in. And now that you're mentioning grief, I wonder if that was part of her grief.
It can be. She probably was but she's still in the anger phase. She probably grieved what she dreamt of her and her husband raising their children was going to look like.
Oh, okay.
And now that's not the same. Now her husband's not who she dreamed would be. So she can grieve that father person that she wanted in her children. The anger that came to me, there's different phases of anger, but it was years later. One of the things Brian and I had conversations on is, I'm a very emotional person. And so I like to have shoulders to cry on. And day one, he said, I can help you your shoulder to cry on. And I was okay with that. I accepted that. It wasn't until 2020 that I started to hold resentment and anger because there was, I had to share with him, I said, we're husband and wife, and we're supposed to be in this together. And I need you to be a husband to me. And so it manifested in some very ugly ways. And we did counseling through all of these times that we were going through all of this stuff. And so I didn't know that's what it was until it was. And so we had some really hard conversations, and I was really angry because I needed him to be my husband. I was a wife for him and a caregiver to him. And I needed him to be a husband for me because, biblically, we're the weaker vessel. And that's not a strength thing. That's more of an emotional. And so I needed him to fill in a gap that I don't think he realized he needed to do. And I didn't realize he needed to do. So I think that parent, that what she's going through is, I don't think she's angry at her husband per se. I think she's probably angry at who she wanted him to be. Because then she's almost like a single mom.
Yeah, pretty much.
With a spouse and a home.
Yeah.
And that's tough.
So her expectation of what it was, what it could be, the raising kids stage was, now everything looks different.
Looks different.
Yeah. So it is part of the grieving process, but differently.
Yes. And and one of the phases that she could go to, and one of the phases I went through, but I did it earlier, was bargaining. I wanted to bargain. I wanted to just say, if I do this, can this happen? Can we negotiate this to not be this idea of what we have? That was very short lived. There was no bargaining. It was where it was. And then for me, then it was like a phase of acceptance. Then I'm like, okay, I'm accepting that this is where our life is going to be now, and I'm going to move forward. Because there's no other choice. You either stay stagnant
or you move forward.
Correct. And then the stagnant part can lead to depression, which is another kind of a big cycle. And so depression will look very different for every person. And my depression was not necessarily experienced. I didn't depress anything of who I was as a caregiver. I didn't have depression based on what he was going through with still doing these treatments. I didn't have depression because it was COVID and I would have to drop him off in the hospital, and I would sit in the car for 5 to 6 hours waiting for him to get his treatment because I wasn't allowed in the hospital. And when I get depression, presented differently. And my depression was, I lost my job at the time. And then I had an injury at the time. And so there was a gap of healthcare.
Many things piling up.
And that's what I call the messy middle. And the messy middle is, and as you spirits might understand, is that you're at the grocery store, or you're helping with homework, and you're grieving something, or you have someone you're taking care of and nobody knows about it. You're just like in this world by yourself, and you want to tell the person at the grocery store that I'm a caregiver and I'm having a tough day today. And it's the messy part of life, is that life keeps going, people keep blending, others, friends get married, your friends have children, they graduate. And you're in this world of caregiving for someone, whether it's a child or your spouse or even a parent.
Yes. And let's hone into the messy in the middle.
Yes.
Because in the book, you said that it is important, highly important, to survive the messy in the middle to find your people.
Yes.
So what is it to find your people?
I wish there was a roadmap. I wish there was a way to say, this is what you do, and let's try to get rid of people and you put people in. That I'm hoping that the readers will understand how to do this. So at the beginning, many of the do is we shared with our loved ones, our friends, our family, first our parents and our siblings. And then we share with people that were close to us. I'll share a little bit of background. My husband and I were part of a church that had a ministry, and we were part of that ministerial group itself. And I have put expectations on who I thought would step in and help. Like I just assumed. I made assumptions. And so one of them was, my faith people, all of my faith people. And so people that I expected to step in, and I didn't know what that would look like, did not. And I became disappointed. And so how did I find my people? I think they found me. And so there were people that just knew, and they would just bring us food, ask what foods we can and can't have, and drop us things at the door. There were friends that would
She just pointed at me for the ones who are just listening.
yes, that just came and knew that they needed to pray for us. And I didn't know who that would be until later. And so as like news changed and Ryan's like health evolved, I realized that there are people that don't know how to also receive the news. And they don't know how to, because they will probably go through their own grief cycle as well. And so, and it wasn't fair what I did in putting expectations on them on how I wanted them to meet me. But I also realized too that their heaviness was too heavy for me to carry. So I learned boundaries, you know, and it's hard conversations. I'm going to tell you, it's not the easiest thing to do. You almost have to have a practice dialogue with yourself on how you have these conversations. And some of them are with friends, and some of them are with family, and sometimes they're just like none at all. Sometimes you just slowly remove yourself from their life, and if they inquire, they inquire. But if they don't, then you know they're really not truly a part of who you thought your community was. So our larger community ended up being very, very small. And in the end, and probably after 3 years, my core are 6 people. I mean, it's really true. I have really just 6 people. And I've met other women and husbands and wives that they have a big community and have a big core. For me, I realized it didn't work for me because of the fact that people will come and they'll share their heaviness of what's going on, and it's just that you can't. Or this was tough for me, is I would share it and said, you know, I'm only sharing with, I have a big family, but I'm only sharing with this. I really don't want this to get out anymore. And then you start to learn that the person you can find in as shared with one person that ends up being 5 people, that ends up being 10 people. And so then you just almost have to protect yourself, but you have to know what it is you want. Some people want a lot. Some people want everyone asking, and they can and share burdens, and you can be that person for them. I just was not that person for them because I wasn't Brian's shoulder to cry on, and I couldn't be their shoulder to cry on. And so then the walls started to get a little bit high. I started to protect myself. And so then, you know, you build a little bit, especially because you lose friendships. And friendships can sometimes be family, and that's fair too. Of my 6, 1 is a family member.
Well, something that, because I cared for a cancer patient, my mother-in-law, something that I found true was that sometimes you don't even need the wide network, but a deep network, a network that gets you, that is in the deep with you. You're one of them. You're one of my very small network. But when you are a parent and you are caring for a cancer patient or a tough illness patient, that you need help. Otherwise, how are you going to get through this? And then I found it true that when you have those core people, you can get through things with a lot more grace. But the thing is, and I don't know if you live this, for a lot of us, especially women, possible this is a Latino thing, I don't know, it's hard for us to ask for help. That there is like this preconceived notion that if you're a woman, you're supposed to take care of everything and take care of everybody and do it all and be okay and smile through it. And then this belief of I should be able to take care of everything then keeps us from reaching out and from sharing our part and from asking for help.
I completely agree with that. And I don't know if I can see it from a Hispanic culture because I've seen it. You know, you want to ask for help, like my mom does ask for help like that to like cry to get into her life. And so I think it's a woman thing. I think it's a female thing where we feel like we can do it all. I got this. I can do it. And I don't know for you, but for me, I didn't want to come off as a weak person to ask for help. And I did put on that facade where there's like, how are you doing? And I'm like, I'm great. I'm great. And then falling apart, completely falling apart on the inside. And I'm not great. And I think we have to give ourselves permission to say, it's okay to say, I don't know. I need help, but I don't know what that looks like. Because then that community comes in that can fill in the gaps. And I don't know what that can look like for every person, because I can honestly say I'm still that person that still does that effort out. I can tell someone how to look for the help, but I don't know what it looks like from my community or my core. And to be fair, have some fairness in this. It's okay to tell someone like, oh, what can I do for you? I'm like, I don't have enough bandwidth in my brain to know how to ask what I need stuff with. Can you just fill in something? I don't know what it is. But I tell it thumbs up. That's very true. Because, sometimes it's just somebody sending you a gift card to order a meal, or they send you a meal, or they send you groceries, or they'll say, I have a cleaning service. What day of the week works best for you? And so they can come in and clean your house. Because, life goes on. Dishes still need to get done. Meals have to still get done. But you're trying to appointments, and you're seeing specialists, and you're making up prescriptions, and then you might still be working. So I think every person has to learn how to ask for that help. I didn't ask for it. I just knew it, and I always call God moments. There were just God moments where people just did things that were just always on time. But I'm also a very tight personality where I felt like if I did it, I felt in control because I'm a type A person. And God haven't shown me that you are not in control. And he was letting life fall apart around you.
I want to focus on that because when we decide to accept help, that help might not look like doing the things the way we're used to doing them.
Right.
When I was caring for my mother-in-law with cancer, there was remember the messy in the middle? The messy in the middle for me was that Brian tore his knee and he needed surgery while I was caring for Linda, my mother-in-law, and she was going through chemo and things. So I asked for help. I called my abuelita, my tia, and she came all the way from Colombia and she helped me with the twins. She picked them up from school. She didn't cook, but she cleaned every day and she picked them up from school. And like that was a huge help. One day she picked them up from school while I was taking Brian to surgery. And then from surgery, I had to pick up Linda from another treatment in the cancer center. So I had two sick people on the back while I knew that she was going to pick up the twins.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about the expectations of how they will help. She was willing to help and she did help. But when I came in the house, I noticed that the after school snack was not the choice necessarily that I would pick for my twins.
True.
Doritos and Oreos.
That's my snack. Those are my snacks.
So I had to come to a conclusion of making peace with that part of the help could look messy as well. And that doesn't mean it's bad help. It could get messy.
Right.
And it's okay. For the time being, they survived. They came from school. They survived on Oreos, and at dinner they ate good.
Yes. Because we have to also, and it's hard, but we have to be mindful that what we want or our expectations of how we would do things may not be what that other person's are, because they're bringing in what they know. They bring in their knowledge, and we just have to accept it. Or, like, I really appreciate you picking up my children. And I love that I came home and they're here, they're having snacks. One of the things that we do at home is that we try not to give them no snacks, but I'll leave a basket for you. And like if this happens again, they can pick from that basket. So then you're setting out a really safe boundary. You're having a good communication. You're still being appreciative of what they're doing for you, which is very important.
Yeah.
And that's just a big help. It's a big help. Yeah.
So real quick, let's talk about faith, because I'm going to quote you, the Living Beyond the Diagnosis quote. When life gets messy in the middle, faith is what I hold on to.
I remember driving. So I met secret places where I would cry and could have conversations with Mary. They were in my car, and in my closet. And I was driving to, I don't know where, I was driving to Phoenix, and it's for I mean, my girlfriend called me. She's in my car. And we were just talking about life, because we always do these check-ins, like, how are you doing? What's going on? And when we talk about messy in the middle, two of our young adult sons were going through really hard times as young adults. And isn't just, I would, really pray that ears they'll go through, but we thought a good support group for what they were going through to help us to understand what they were going through. And I remember sharing it with her, and she asked me, she was like, "Really, I don't know how you're doing it." And I said, "Faith." Like, no hesitation. And I know I'm getting emotional, but I'm getting emotional. Is the one thing from day one that I realized is that I don't understand how people do this without faith or hope. You are faith or hope. And I would say that's the one thing that has been consistent. I was never been angry at God. I never questioned the why of this and why now. I never was like, I never wished away had I knew. My hands were always in praise, because I knew that He always had the good for us. And like I told her, I said, what else is there? What else is there that faith? And maybe other people have something that's different. They have an internet, a Zen, a hope, or something that gets them through. But for me and my personal experience, my home, what my husband and I, have instilled in our sons that we pray will always manifest in their lives, is that, God is the creator and holder of everything. And I believed in what He was doing for us. And so even though it gets messy, you can't have these expectations that you're always going to have this good in life. And then when things get tough, that you are going to be mad or angry about it. It's that you got to take the good and bad with everything. And so, He's always met us on the mountaintops. You celebrated 25 years, and that was a great celebration. And He met us in the valley. He met me at times where it was COVID, and I was on a couch and I couldn't move my shoulder. And I had no prayers, but all I can say is that I know you're with me in the valley. And that was enough for Him to know, and for me to know, that in all the fights, that He just never leaves. He doesn't forsake us.
Yeah.
So, faith is. If you want to talk about faith, I'm the sister to talk to all day long, because with lots of tears, with joyful tears. Joyful tears. I mean, good news, bad reports, good reports. It's there's just gotta be praise in it. How could you? I know how people can't. I can see it. Step back and look and see how someone can't, and be really angry, because there was
and down and
correct, because there was a woman who called me, or however been a few years, and she asked me if I knew of her husband. And she knew that I'm the caregiver for my husband, and so we reached out. She reached out. We talked for an hour, and it wasn't until weeks later. And she was angry. She was angry with God, but that wasn't a big part of her life. And she walked into a church, and that was a big step for her. So it's always there. So it's just a matter of you finding it. Finding your core too. So that faith.
Let's, with believing beyond the diagnosis, number one, live your grieving process. It could get messy. It's not a straight line to acceptance. You could go from acceptance back to anger, and it's okay. Find your people, and it's okay if some of those people leave you and some others may come. Parenting and taking care of kids, and allow the people who are willing to help you messy as well. And let go of the expectations or how they should do it, because you do it the same way. And faith is everything to help you survive the messy in the middle when you are caring for an ill relative, while being a mom, a daughter, an employee, a friend. So Marilyn, where people can find you on Instagram?
So I am at Cancer Caregiver Try, and on Instagram, and it's a new page. So share with me. I'd love to connect with you. I mean, my long-term goal is to be able to have a support group in the end, and that this book will be the launching point of it. So,
To find her book, just open the description of this podcast episode, and then the link is there. Or you can find it on Amazon. Just type "Believing Beyond the Diagnosis," and the link is there as well. Remember that it only takes understanding of our needs and of our children's needs to transform your parenting. That's Parenting with Understanding. I'll see you next time. Thank you, Marilyn.
thank you, Marcela.